There's a quietness that settles into the house in the late afternoon. The dust motes dance in the slanted light, and the old clock in the hall seems to tick a little slower, a little more deliberately. I'm sitting here with a cup of chamomile tea, the warmth seeping into my hands, and I find myself smiling at a memory. It's the memory of a woman who didn't know how to do this. How to just sit. How to be still. That woman was me not so many years ago. For most of my life, I ran on fumes, believing that my worth was measured by my productivity, by the neat crossed-off items on an endless to-do list. I wore my exhaustion like a badge of honor. It meant I was needed, that I was competent, that I was enough. But our bodies, in their infinite and patient wisdom, keep a different kind of record. They don't measure our worth in achievements, but in breaths, in heartbeats, in the quiet, steady rhythm of well-being. And when we push them too far, for too long, they begin to speak to us. At first it's a whisper, a gentle nudge. But if we don't listen, that whisper becomes a shout. I learned the hard way that slowing down isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It is a sacred act of listening. Today, I wanted to share a little of what I've learned, to reflect on the gentle warnings our bodies give us, these signs that it's time to slow down, and why we must, for our own sake, learn to listen. The first sign, and perhaps the most ignored, is the persistent hum of fatigue. I'm not talking about the satisfying tiredness after a long day of good work in the garden. I mean a deep, soul-level weariness that a full night's sleep can't seem to touch. It's the feeling of waking up already behind, of needing coffee just to feel normal, of moving through your days feeling like you're walking through water. For years, that was my normal. In my career, I was the one who could handle anything. The last one in the office, the first to volunteer for a new project. I remember one particular season, we were facing a huge deadline, and I worked 14-hour days for 3 weeks straight. I told myself it was what was required. But I started noticing things. I would be in the middle of a sentence and forget a simple word. I'd drive home and not remember parts of the journey. My body felt heavy, like it was made of lead. I remember one evening, I finally got home, dropped my briefcase by the door, and just stood there in the entryway, too tired to even take my coat off. The silence of the house was deafening. My children were grown and gone. My husband had passed some years before, and in that moment, the profound exhaustion hit me not as a measure of my success, but as a measure of my emptiness. I had given everything to my work, and I had nothing left for myself. That was a turning point. I realized that this kind of fatigue isn't a symptom of a full life, but of a life out of balance. Our Creator designed us for rhythms of work and rest. He even rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but to show us the pattern. Rest isn't a reward we earn after the work is done. It's the vital preparation that makes the work possible in the first place. It might be worth asking yourself, is the fatigue you feel a healthy, temporary state, or has it become a constant companion? Your body is not a machine. Honoring its need for true restorative rest is one of the most profound acts of self-respect you can practice. The second sign your body is sending is a shortened fuse. Do you find yourself getting irritated by the smallest things? The slow driver in front of you, a misplaced set of keys, a comment from a friend that you take the wrong way? That flash of impatience, that wave of anxiety, or that sudden feeling of being completely overwhelmed are often signs of a nervous system that is simply overloaded. I used to pride myself on being unflappable, on my competence. But in my later years of working, I see now that my competence had hardened into a kind of brittleness. I had no patience for inefficiency, for mistakes, for the messy human parts of life. I was quick to anger, quick to frustration, and it was beginning to chip away at my relationships. I was sharp with colleagues, impatient with my children on the phone. I was so focused on doing things right that I had forgotten how to simply be with people in a gentle way. It reminds me of my dear friend Arthur. After he lost his Eleanor, the love of his life, I watched him navigate a grief so profound it seemed to have its own weather system. But I never saw him rush it. He holds her little teacup, the one with the blue forget-me-nots, and he just sits with his sorrow. He doesn't fight it or try to fix it. He described it to me once as tending a strange new garden. He said grief, like any living thing, needs patience and gentle attention, not impatient force. Watching him taught me so much about grace. He showed me that true strength isn't about being invulnerable or unflappable. It's about having the capacity to hold the difficult emotions with tenderness for yourself and for others. When we are constantly rushing, our emotional capacity shrinks. We become reactive instead of responsive. Slowing down creates space. It gives our nervous system a chance to come back to a place of equilibrium. It allows us to choose a gentler response, to offer grace instead of irritation. Jesus invites us to learn from him, for he is gentle and humble in heart, promising that in this we will find rest for our souls. If something in this is resonating with you, I'd be so grateful to know. You might just type "I'm listening" in the comments below so we know we're in this together. It helps to know we are not alone on this path. The third warning sign is subtle, but so important. The joy starts to disappear from the small things. That first sip of morning tea, the song of a robin outside your window, the particular comfort of your favorite armchair. These small moments are the bedrock of a contented life. But when we're running too fast, we stop noticing them. Or worse, they start to feel like just another thing on the list. Drink tea becomes a task, not a pleasure. Read a chapter feels like an obligation, not an escape. I realized this was happening to me when I decided to retire. I had this grand vision of all the things I would do. I'd travel, I'd volunteer, I'd finally organize the family photos. But I found myself feeling flat, restless. I didn't know how to operate without a deadline, without a problem to solve. It was in this season that I decided to try something I had always been terrible at: watercolor painting. My whole life had been about achieving mastery. Here, I had to embrace being a clumsy beginner. My first attempts were just awful. The colors bled together into muddy messes. The water went everywhere. The old me, the competent professional, was deeply frustrated. I almost gave up a dozen times, but one afternoon I made a conscious choice. I decided to stop trying to create a masterpiece and to just pay attention to the process. The feel of the bristles on the paper, the miraculous way the pigment swirled in the water. I wasn't trying to achieve anything, I was just being. And in that moment of surrender, a little flicker of joy returned. It wasn't the joy of accomplishment, it was the quiet, simple joy of being present in the moment God had given me. Learning a new skill, especially one without a practical purpose, can be a powerful way to practice this. It teaches you to let go of the outcome and find delight in the process. When we lose our ability to delight in small, simple things, it's a sign that our souls are starving for presence. Slowing down is how we feed them. It's how we learn to see the world not as a project to be managed, but as a gift to be savored. The final sign is the one our bodies speak the loudest. The constant, low-grade aches and pains, the tension that settles in your neck and shoulders, the dull headache that lingers behind your eyes, the backache that has no obvious cause. For years, I treated these signals as annoyances. I'd take a pain reliever and just push through, dismissing it as a normal part of getting older. But these persistent aches are often not about aging. They are the physical manifestation of a life lived under constant stress. Our bodies hold on to tension. When our minds are racing, our muscles are clenching. When we are emotionally overwhelmed, our bodies absorb that burden. It's the language of an organism crying out for relief. I see the opposite in my friend Elias. After his wife Martha passed and his children left, he felt adrift. But he rediscovered his old passion for woodworking. I love to visit his workshop. The air smells of sawdust and beeswax. He's not a young man, and the work is physical, but he moves with a mindful purpose. He told me once that you can't rush wood. You have to listen to it, feel the grain, and respect its nature. If you force it, it splits. And as he said it, I realized he was talking about more than wood. Through his craft, he had learned to listen to the rhythms of his own body. He works hard, but it is a steady, prayerful kind of labor, not a frantic rush. His hands are strong, but his shoulders are relaxed. He's found a purpose that energizes him rather than drains him. These aches are not our enemies. They are our messengers. They are our body's way of saying, please pay attention, be gentle with me. It might be asking for a gentle walk instead of a frantic errand. It might be asking for 5 minutes of quiet stretching. It might just be asking for permission to stop holding on to all that tension. Listening to these physical signs is a way of honoring the vessel God gave us to navigate this life. The hum of fatigue, the short fuse, the loss of small joys, and the constant aches, they are not separate issues. They are 4 verses of the same song, a song our bodies sing to get our attention. For so long, I believed that slowing down was a form of giving up. I saw it as weakness, as becoming irrelevant. But now, I see it as a sacred alignment. It is the wisdom of learning to move at the speed of our own souls, not the speed the world demands. It is the shift from a life of frantic doing to a life of meaningful being. It isn't about doing less, it's about doing what matters with more presence, more love, and more peace. It is about trusting that when we rest in God, He sustains us. As the scripture says, be still and know that I am God. In that stillness, we don't just find rest, we find Him, and we find ourselves again. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me today, for sharing this quiet space. The journey of learning to listen to our bodies, as we've talked about, truly begins with looking inward. If you're ready to take that first gentle step on your own path of reflection, I've created something just for you. It's a free guide called The First 5 Questions, a gentle guide to rediscovering your story. It's designed to help you begin this exact process in a quiet and meaningful way. You can download it right now for free from the link in the description or at eldersechoes.com. Be gentle with yourself this week.